Okay, we're down here at practice with Jakob Poeltl. Yeah, first off, just saw you going through a very extensive routine out there. I want to start here actually before we get into some of the other questions. But what drives you to like want to be great all the time? Because I see you putting in a lot of work for a guy who is very established, but you're clearly still very hungry.
Uh it's a tough question for me. I think for me it's just about the fact that I still have fun playing basketball. So like I enjoy this work out there. And I think over the years I found a good balance of like trying to maintain the stuff that I do, trying to add some more skills, but not wearing the body out too much. Like we have a lot of games in the season, so you want to be mindful of that. But yeah, like I said, I think I found a good balance.
Right. Okay, so obviously this has been a busy month for you. Take me through the trade deadline process. Like, when did you know Toronto was a possibility, and when you found out that that was ultimately where you were going? What were some of your emotions at that time, and also like what have you had to deal with life wise to sort of balance this like very dramatic move?
Um, I mean, for me, I, I was aware of the rumors. I was aware of the fact that there was conversations going with the Raptors, maybe a couple other teams as well. But I really didn't know that the trade was happening until everybody else found out as well. So yeah, when I found out, I was excited. I was excited to come back. I thought that I don't know, there was a good core here, like a good group that we can definitely build on, and I was thinking that I could add a lot of value to this team, and I think so far that's really worked out.
Yeah, we can definitely see that. I mean, I thought, for example, last night, fourth quarter, I thought you made a lot of great plays on both ends of the floor. It's pretty clear that that center position was sort of missing for a while. Um, you know, it was funny because the way timing worked out, you were playing in Toronto in your last game with the Spurs, and it just so happened that that trade happened essentially overnight. And so the next morning, I think I forget who described it. Basically, you were like in here eating breakfast again, and was is that not a little bit odd to you? And yeah, I mean that whole process, sort of like reacclimating with the guys and the team. I mean that had to be quicker than you would normally expect.
I mean, yeah, it's been a very seamless process for me. I think, yeah, like you said, the fact that I was already here
Hmm.
when getting traded here just made it that much quicker. And then the fact that a lot of the staff here is still the same. Like,
Right.
obviously, the players have changed a little bit, but there's still a couple of players out there that I've played with. And then a couple of the other guys I know from playing on the Spurs. So there's really like a very quick turnaround for me. Like, it was everybody was really um, everybody else that I didn't know was really down to earth, cool guys. So yeah, it made it really easy.
Right, for sure. Now, I actually wanted to ask you about the last time you were dealt too, right? Because I think everyone got DeMar's side of the story, and obviously that's very emotional because of how much investment he put into this franchise, and of course everyone focused on the Kawhi aspect because it was like, is he going to play for Toronto, and sort of how is it going to work out? I felt like no one asked you like what went through your mind at that time, so I wanted to hear your side of the first time you were traded involving the Toronto Raptors.
Um, I mean, for me, it was tough. It caught me off guard a little bit, especially because I thought we had a really good thing going the year before.
Yep.
Coming off the bench with that young unit, like we're really playing good basketball. So I kind of saw myself staying in Toronto for a long period of time, and then obviously the trade happened. So like I said, it caught me off guard. But the more time passed, the more I saw like the upside, the opportunity of this trade for me. Like playing for a coach like Coach Pop, getting to develop in a system like they have at the Spurs, which worked out really well for me. So like I said, the more time passed after the trade, like obviously in the beginning it was a little bit of a shock, but then I saw, like I said, the opportunity. I wanted to grab that opportunity and make the most of it. And I think, yeah, I my time with the Spurs, I very much enjoyed. So I think that's worked out really well for me.
Yeah, let's talk about that time with the Spurs, right? Because I think they're really known for developing their players, right? And I think one thing that's really cool with this with San Antonio in particular is how often guys are just around the team all the time, right? Mano's around the team, Tim's around the team. You see all sorts of Spurs legends just come through consistently. And I think for yourself personally, getting to work with Tim as an assistant coach, what was that like? Because I mean, that's got to be a dream to be able to work that closely with Tim Duncan all the time.
I mean, yeah, it was great. Like Tim's one of those guys. Like he's very down to earth. Like he's always down to help everybody out. So yeah, being able to work with him, he shared a lot of things with me. A lot of like small details that might seem minor, but like they can really help you out in a basketball game. And a lot of it is just playing against him a little bit, like him playing like a little bit of defense, like not even playing 100% defense, but you notice things that like that you only get from playing against a veteran player like him.
Right. Nick's pregame yesterday was talking about sort of, one of the reasons why you're so effective in the pick and roll. Sometimes you'll throw in this like very subtle fake as you're catching the ball, and then you're able to sort of step through and then finish at the rim. Those are those the type of little tips that a guy like Tim can really help you with, or is that something you've always had?
I mean, it would be things like that. Yeah. This particular thing, like I think a lot of my quote unquote moves or like the things that I do in a basketball game just come from things that I develop naturally, like trying to fake out defensive. Like it's not really like a specific move that I work on in practice. It's more like I think I pick up these games more from just getting playing time, like being out there on the court, like seeing real game-like situations and doing them over and over again. So the more different situations I see and the more often I'm in those situations, the more I develop like my play style, my moves, whatever you want to call it.
Right. Now, another big part of developing in San Antonio, obviously, is Greg Popovich, right? A legendary coach. What was it like to work with Pop? And, you hear a lot of stories over the years about Pop sort of like yelling at guys and sort of like really getting into it. Did Pop ever yell at you? It's one of my questions, too.
I mean, you don't spend 5 years in San Antonio without Pop yelling at you.
Okay,
but,
fair.
For me personally, like I really appreciate Pop for the opportunity I got in San Antonio. I feel like over the years, like my role there just increased more and more and more. I was taking on more and more responsibilities. I got more and more freedom on the court, like trying to make plays for myself, for everybody else. Like that, I feel like that's really helped me develop my game. But more than anything, I appreciate Pop off the court. I think he's a great guy. He's really invested in trying to teach his players not only about basketball but about the world like that we live in, like about all kinds of good things, bad things that are going on in the world. Like he's really vocal about that type of stuff. And then also he's just a great guy. Like now you can not only have these like serious conversations with him, like you can also just like chat, like just have casual conversation. He's very good with that. And he's really pushed everybody on his team to kind of form like this camaraderie, this team bond, and I think that's really good.
No, that's very cool, because I feel like other coaches don't really spend that same kind of energy and effort the way that Pop does to sort of build the connections with the players, and that's why anytime anyone goes back to San Antonio, you see like the hugs and everything like that. You could tell they're such a close-knit squad. I think there's still that feeling in Toronto as well, to a lesser degree. But coming back here, you played with Pascal and Fred when they, came into the league together. You guys played probably G League games together. You probably played summer league games together. Like everything, right? Even going back to the draft workouts. And I wanted to ask you, now that you've seen them both at the start and also right now as well, how do you think Pascal and Fred have changed as players, and then how do you think they've changed as people?
I mean, you just tell the maturity like process they went through over the years. Like I think, especially Fred's always been a very mature guy. Like you just tell, like he's very level headed. Like he's kind of in control of the game at all times. But even to a greater degree now, you can just tell that he's out there like controlling the play pretty much. Like, and he's very good at that. And for Pascal, he's kind of. I mean, he's made a crazy development just from a skill point of view. Like he used to be this just like rim runner, like run in transition, like make hustle plays all over the place, to now where he can still do that, but he's just added so many different like options or like weapons to his game. And yeah, it's made him really, really tough to guard. And as people, I mean, I think we just all like kind of grow up. Like that's the main difference I noticed. Maybe they've become they've become NBA superstars. Let's put it that way.
Okay, all right.
So there's a little different like aura about him, like a little bit of difference, like presence. But yeah, I think besides that, I can still just like, I mean, they're still like my guys from back in the day, like this. I can still talk to them like normal people, but you could just tell there's like a different step to them.
Do you think it's partially because they also won the championship as well?
I mean, it might be the championship. It might be a couple All-Star appearances for Pascal, whatever it may be.
Yeah, got a little richer as well. You know, I mean, no, there's a lot of good factors that went into
moving up in the world.
Yeah, no kidding. But I mean, look, listen. I think you know, going back to more humbling times, I would say there's this story that Pascal will always tell about his time at the draft, where I think he came in with the expectation of working out against you. And instead, he describes as he worked out with the Z squad off to the side. Meanwhile, you had a one-on-one by yourself. And he got really upset at that situation, felt disrespected, and went just really, really hard at that workout. And it clearly impressed the Raptors to ultimately choose to draft him as well. Do you remember that at all?
I do remember that. Obviously, I don't know I didn't know his side of the story until like I heard it from him, or like I heard it somewhere where he told it. For me, like going into the whole pre-draft process, like I was projected like somewhere in the lottery.
Right.
So I think most of my workouts were one-on-one workouts or like one-on-zero workouts type stuff. And I could see from his perspective, and like knowing the type of guy he is, I could definitely see him getting upset about that and like really wanting to prove a point there. And I think it's worked out pretty well for him because, or for me as well, because I don't think I would have wanted to go up against the Mad Pascal in that workout. Like it would have been a tough workout to say the least.
Maybe it worked out for everybody, right? Because you know, obviously, you guys have become teammates and great friends as well.
It's been great.
Hey, last thing, actually, I wanted to finish off with rapid fire because I always do that, and so we'll go through some really quick ones. But I actually wanted to ask you just about playing yesterday as well. The MVP debate has been between Jokic and Embiid for 2-3 years now. You are a guy who actually plays center and has to guard both these guys. How do you sort of see it? Like, who is the more difficult guy for you to guard?
I mean, they're so different. Like, I think Jokic is the type of guy, like you're guarding him and like you feel like you're doing a good job, but at the end of the day, he still put up 30 points on 80% shooting,
like last
with
night.
10 assists. Like, so like I think Joel Embiid is the more frustrating guy to guard because you have to be like 100% like aware of at all times. Otherwise, you're going to sit on the bench with 3 fouls real quick. Like,
Right.
And he's so physical, like and like athletic, plus has like the touch that he puts more pressure on you personally as a defense. Whereas like I'd say Jokic is like you don't really feel it as much in the game. Like you feel like you're doing a decent job, but like really he's just creating plays all over the court. And like he's, like I said, he at the end of the day, he's sitting there with 12 for 15 and like has made great plays all game long. So yeah, it's just a different play style. I don't think there's a clear cut like guy that's better than the other here. It's just about what you value as a person and a basketball player.
That's fair. I mean, you know, I feel like you can't go wrong either with other guys.
You really can't.
Okay, so rapid fire to wrap. So I hear that you're a big FIFA player. So is Pascal. Who would win in a best of 7 between you two?
Right now, I'll give it to P. In my heyday as a FIFA player, there's nobody that beat me.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. What was your team? What was the team that you would pick?
I mean, I don't have a team that I pick. Like I switch it up. I usually go like a little bit lower than whatever the other person picks.
Got you. If you weren't a basketball player, what would you be doing right now?
That's tough. A volleyball player.
Volleyball. You'd be very good at volleyball. I was watching an old interview with you when you said when you first joined the Raptors, and the host asked you, what was the last movie that you cried at? And your answer was the Pokemon movie as a kid. So I got to ask, what's your favorite Pokemon?
My favorite Pokemon? Man. Eevee.
That's a great pick. That's a great pick. All right. Last question here, and I have to ask this. All right. I'm watching Open Gym. This is back in 2019. The Raptors were back in San Antonio the first time, and you guys went out for dinner together. And Fred gives you this greeting, and I want you to hear what he says.
You big ugly.
All right. Why did he call you Big Ugly? That's not nice from Fred.
I don't know. I mean, just because he's trying to be funny. I'm assuming,
Okay.
but
That wasn't a nickname, to be clear.
no.
Okay, good. Because that's a horrible nickname. All right, well, Yak, appreciate you. Thank you for the interview, and best of luck with the rest of the season.
Appreciate it.